Here we are. Good evening and hello to you all. I hope you've had a wonderful Sunday. I hope you've had a wonderful day. Cheers and best wishes to you all. I don't know if anyone is here other than William Park, who says good evening. So, good evening to William Park. It seems I'm just talking to one person at this stage in the game. Tina De Silva says evening, good evening, and Paulie and Susie Astrandon and Laura and Lily and Nicola and Nicole. Good evening to you all, and good evening and welcome. Thank you very much to all of you who have arrived, and many of you seem to be coming into the room. So, hello and good evening. I hope you've all had a wonderful day. I hope you can hear me correctly. I hope the noise is not going to upset any of you. I don't think there is noise in the background on this particular occasion. But there we go. I'm sitting in a different room. So we will see. Good evening to the Pennine counties from Lancashire. You know I love Lancashire and I was educated in Lancashire. So there we go. So happy evening to everyone in Lancashire. Lovely place. I love the Inn at Whitewell, one of my favourite places on the entire planet. If I could go anywhere, I would love to go there any day of the week. The Inn at Whitewell is my favourite place for a sandwich for lunch. Absolutely wonderful place. And good evening to Nikki, Liam Mary, Melissa, Tea and Toast, and Joe, and Adaya Love, and all the rest of you. Thank you so much for joining us. So, we have so much to talk about this evening, but I hope maybe you would like to begin first with a few questions for me, wish, because normally by the end it's very difficult. So, if you wish to ask me some questions, why don't you ask me some questions now? I think that would actually be a good way to start. Um, Bambi Debonair says we have a different view tonight. Yes, it's just a different background. That's how it is. There we are. And Tina raises a valid point about a wonky pub that's been burnt down. I will be coming on to that topic. That is on the list. So don't worry, Tina. We will be talking about people burning down pubs. It is not an appropriate form of behaviour, is it? We don't like people burning down pubs. So, anyway, what do I prefer about France compared to England? I'll say, in honesty, Joe, the wine. The wine is cheaper and better. So let's raise a glass to the French and their lovely wine. They're good at wine, but there we go. What have I been doing today? I've been out for lunch and I've done some work, done some research, and I've also been listening to my favorite program on the radio, The Archers, and also my other favorite program this morning I listened to, which I can listen to, is BBC Radio 4's Broadcasting House, a very intelligent radio show that I very much enjoy, hosted by Paddy McConnell. Lovely radio show. I can listen to that, but I can't watch BBC television, so I can't finish watching The Woman in the Wall or any of those things that people on here have been talking about. Do I think Hugh Bonneville is posh? We'll be coming to Hugh Bonneville later, Chegwin. So we'll save him for later. He's a special person in this equation. Do I think Dan Wootton will be sacked? Well, he has been removed from various channels, and quite rightly so. So I hope that it remains that way. The man is a bully, and he was nasty to the lovely Susan Boyle, the voice of an angel. We don't like bullies, and Dan Wootton is a nasty piece of toe rag. We don't like him. And what do I think about French cheese? Absolutely delightful. They make wonderful cheese here in France. Um, I love English cheese too, so I love all sorts of cheese. Cheese is a wonderful thing. So yes, I love a variety of cheese. So there you go. Right, next one question. Any more questions, or shall I move on to the topics? I think it's probably time. Um, there we go. Paulie Galtery says, can't fault the French for food and wine. Bambi talks about the Archer's omnibus on a Sunday. Well, let me move into the topic. I'm sitting on the most uncomfortable chair I've ever sat on. I should have probably got a cushion or something to sit on. But I hate this chair. It's terribly uncomfortable. So today was the day that plastic got cancelled. And my good old friend Giles Brandreth rightly took to Twitter and he wrote a poem courtesy of finger licking Mark Graham, whoever he was. He says, a ban comes into force today. Does everybody know? Trays and plates and cutlery. If single use must go, picking up a takeaway. Curry, burgers, chips, you'll have to hold your hands out. So oh gosh, I've now lost my thing. So please, perhaps don't order dips. And it sounded rather like Pam Ayres, but I think it's wonderful that we finally got rid of single-use plastic in this country, because plastic is killing all our creatures in our oceans, and it is an irresponsible thing. It does not degrade for thousands of years. It is a terrible thing. So I think this is one good thing. I think the environment should be protected better, and good riddance to single use plastic. That is a positive move for our world. The wonderful magnet, I wish I'd got the cup in front of me. I haven't, but at least theirs is a reusable plastic cup. Single use plastic cups. And I hope at the Broadstairs event next year, I hope they stop using single-use cups, because I think they are banned, so they'll be forced to behave like everyone else, as they will in any other event around the country. What a wonderful thing. That is called progress. Good for the government. For the government once, they got it right. I think we don't want to see whales and dolphins covered in bits of broken plastic. That is so sickening and wrong. We need to progress humanity so we stop doing this. And we should also stop throwing away used fashion into the oceans as they do. We need to stop all this degradation that causes harm to beautiful creatures like whales and dolphins. And that is sickening and appalling. But well done to the British government, I say, and I rarely congratulate the British government. But today they have done the finally good thing. They have banned single use plastic. So stop using this junk, and well done. I hope to not see it anymore, because it's so wasteful and it's shameful, and it harms whales and dolphins and other beautiful marine whale and sea life. It's a terrible thing. So fantastic news today, and well done to Giles Brandreth for writing a poem or sharing a poem about it. He is a good person, and I like to celebrate good people as much as I like to criticize bad people. And for all you people who come on here attacking me and saying I am some person that just criticizes bad people, I'm saying the government has done something good for once. Now, this is the eve of the Conservative conference, so of course it's rather convenient. But the Conservative Party today, they've begun their conference. It begins with a very mixed set of messages. Goodness knows where we're going next in this nation. An opinion poll suggests the Tory party's chances of recovery is near impossible as ministers prepare for the next leadership contest, said The Guardian. Another MP said, "No one knows what we stand for. We are rudderless, directionless. It's like Gerald Ratner saying his products were crap and then wondering why no one bought them." And then we have Suella Braverman attacking Elton John and Gary Lineker for being privileged. Well, I think Suella Braverman herself is a rather privileged person. I don't particularly like Elton John. I think Elton John is a patronising pillock, but I have met Mr. Gary Lineker, and Mr. Lineker I found a rather civilised gentleman. I met him at a lovely restaurant in Mayfair, and I have to say I had quite a nice chat with him. Decent gentleman. The boss of Iceland has quit the Conservative Party, said they're completely irresponsible. This is the eve of the opening of the Conservative Party conference. Mr. Sunak needs to pull himself together. People say it feels rather messy. It was not a good start. Rishi needs to do the rumble, referencing the Dancing on the Ice or Dancing on the Glass or whatever it's called program, which I don't watch. The Conservative Party conference, it's a milestone for Mr. Sunak. Mr. Sunak needs to decide what he needs to do. When is there going to be a general election? Will there be a flurry of policy announcements because he's preparing for a general election? But this morning I listened to BBC Radio 4's Broadcasting House, my favourite radio show of the week. It's the only radio show I spend an entire hour where I don't do anything else. I actually listen because it is far better than the Politics Live. It's far better than the Sky News. It's a decent radio show that mixes up politics with a few bit of trivia, and I enjoy it. And they had Michael Heseltine on there this morning, and Michael Heseltine is a late lady who was very close to me in my life, used to call him, and her husband was in business with Michael Heseltine, as she called him, was brought in, and he was asked about a speech, the ladies for turning, and he said the ladies not for turning speech was a very wise set of words. Now, that was a great admission by Lord Heseltine, and Lord Heseltine is someone who I have very mixed views about because I loved Margaret Thatcher very much, but I think Michael Heseltine has come to encapsulate sensible views in the modern era. At the time back then, he did not behave properly, in my view, but in the years since, he's become an elder statesman and a great figure. And he said in his candid views, he said Rishi Sunak is in a very difficult position. It is the classic situation. People's living situations in this country are so difficult, so they want change. It is a well-trodden road, but we can't tell them we cannot afford tax cuts. We have to tell them we cannot afford tax cuts. He is correct. Unfortunately, this country is broke. Who is to blame for this? Blame Boris, blame Brexit, and blame Theresa May and all the rest of them who allowed us to get into the state blame David Cameron. They are the morons that caused this situation. Shame on the lot of them. He says of Liz Truss, it doesn't matter what I say. Liz Truss was kicked out in disgrace. Rishi Sunak is bringing back sanity to government. He is trying to correct the mistake. She bankrupted this country within hours of becoming prime minister. Why did she last such a short period? The woman was a moron. She was there for 46 days. She is a disgrace. She should not be held up there with living prime ministers. She will be forevermore. She'll have security for the rest of her life. The greedy pig has her nose in the trough. She is one of the most disgusting, repugnant people ever to have held office as prime minister, in my personal opinion. I think that this woman is a shameful piece of toe rag, absolute disgrace. And Mr. Lord Heseltine continued. The different factions in the Conservative Party are not going to shut up. So the Conservative Party is now at war. We have the Lee Andersons, who is a red wall ranting lunatic who believes that the public should live on 30p a week. This man is chairman of the Conservative Party, courtesy of Rishi Sunak, which shows Rishi Sunak is actually an utterly stupid moron himself. To appoint somebody who believes that a family of four should live on 30p a week, 30p a week, when it costs him £45,000 to heat his swimming pool, shame on him. He's a disgrace. Him and his billionaire-esque wife, they do not understand the British public. They are not representative of the British public. Mr. Sunak is not representative of us, but equally, would we rather have Rishi Sunak or would we rather have Keir Starmer, the vegan freak who moans and groans about his children needing their privacy? We have a choice, just as America has a choice between two lunatics. The British public are to blame for our creation of our own monsters, and this Conservative Party conference will be proof. Rishi Sunak, are you going to man up? Are you going to grow up? Are you going to show up? Or are you just going to carry on pretending that you're just this little man who goes around in little short trousers that aren't even long enough? And are you actually going to show the public that you can be a leader and you can actually do something and you can do something decent for us? You are not proving yourself much use yet. Now, Michael Heseltine, in his wisdom, said today, the different factions are not going to shut up in the Conservative Party. He is right. This is like John Major in 1990 to 1997. They're not going to shut up. You've got the people who like you and the people who loathe you. He said, my advice is to tell them, back me or we'll have an election. So I agree today with the wonderful gentleman, Lord Heseltine, back him or have an election. You Conservative MPs, Johnny Mercer, I thought that you were a great man. I placed a bet on you to be Prime Minister. What a waste of my money that was. I bet some money on you many years ago at about 200 to 1. And I don't know I don't think you'll ever be Prime Minister. You're as much use as a chocolate teapot, Johnny Mercer. All you do is, you and your wife, you take and profiteer. Shame on the pair of you. I backed you because I thought you were a man of decency who stood up for veterans and did good things. But now I don't like you one bit either. You're a dreadful person, just like Lee Anderson. And, this is an era where things are changing in our world. And I don't like that. So Michael Heseltine then urged Sunak to go for an achievement at the conference, i.e., build the high speed 2, get on with it, do something about it, or do nothing, or you'll look cack-handed. And that is where we should leave this topic, because, Rishi Sunak, you have your chance. If you want to be an achiever, do something. If you don't, forget it and good night to you. You really had your chance. Decency has had its day with Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak has all the money in the world, courtesy of his rich wife. It is time Rishi Sunak manned up, growed up, and showed up, if he wishes to. But moving on to another more important topic in my world, because I care about the environment, Lord Heseltine was asked about the Robin Hood tree, the sycamore tree, the sycamore gap tree, whatever you want to call it. And he said, I cannot understand how anybody could take a chainsaw to that. It was iconic. He didn't, Lord Heseltine does not like sycamore trees, but he said, well, people could replace it by buying a large sycamore and putting it in their place. Well, with all the money raised, I totally agree with him. I think that's what should be done. Now, it's equally possible that another tree could sprout from it, but we then heard from Mike Pratt, CEO of Northumberland Wildlife Trust. He did say, it would take 5 to 8 years for it to sprout into a bush. It would take 100 years for it to return to being a tree. So I think it would be better to plant another tree and bring in another tree. Now, whoever did this to this tree, they are sick, they're wrong and appalling, and I can understand the outrage because I'm outraged by it and disgusted and appalled. There is no need for this tree to have been treated in such an appalling way. We don't know why this happened or who did it, the 16-year-old, the 60-year-old, whoever did it. But this was not a thing that should have ever happened. It's appalling that it did happen, but this Mike Pratt of the Northumberland Wildlife Trust said, we're blessed with lots of beautiful things in the UK. Trees draw out so many different interests. They were big and easy to grow, the sycamores. They were pollarded for parks, they were everywhere. Michael Heseltine does not like the sycamore tree, but that's Michael Heseltine's choice. That particular tree, I support that tree. And today we've had another out at a pub just 5 miles from the Crooked House. The 500-year-old Greyhound and Punch Bowl pub was torched after fire gutted its interior on Saturday morning. A Grade 2 listed building, which has a bendy exterior, 13 minutes drive away from the Crooked House, burnt to the ground. Now, what is it with these people burning down historic things and destroying historic things at the moment? Is this going to be something that becomes a landmark of 2023? Because it's absolutely appalling. We don't need this to happen. Shame on these ghastly, horrible people. I think that these people who do this to these landmarks, this fire-damaged pub, it was built in 1450 as a manor house. It reopened with a license between 1774 and 1820, and in 1930s became a building of longevity, according to this. But, this is terrible that people are going around this country burning down historic pubs. In the Ribble Valley, a pub was demolished to the ground and the people just wiped it out. In London, a pub was knocked down. They were forced to rebuild it, quite rightly so. Please stop destroying our heritage. This is completely appalling and wrong. We don't like this kind of people. They are shocking and they deserve to be punished. So no, I bring that to light, and I think that is a conversation that needs to be had. But we will hear more about that in due course. Right, I think I don't see any questions here other than what is wrong with people, but there's a lot wrong with people, sadly. I'm terribly sorry to say. So I'll move on to our next topic, which will be just a moment. The film about Nicholas Winton. There's going to be a film coming out about Nicholas Winton, who was the man who did the Kinder transport and rescued so many wonderful children and brought them out of Nazi Germany and saved their lives. And I have to say, I listened to a wonderful radio program this morning about that. Now, the film is going to star Anthony Hopkins. I haven't got the title of the film in front of me, but it's all about how he did it all with his mum. She was keeping all the records. The rest of his family didn't know. And a wonderful 90-year-old child refugee was interviewed. Her name is Dame Stephanie Shirley. I did not know about Dame Stephanie Shirley before today, but she is one of the most amazing people I've ever heard of. This lady has compassion and decency and kindness in her heart. She has done so much good. She was saved by Nicholas Winton, and she didn't like the Esther Ransom program about it. Esther Ransom is someone who I have very mixed views about also because of her involvement with Jimmy Savile. But, the child blind woman, and a friend of mine, Alan Miller, happens to be related to her. But Dame Esther, I think, needs to be questioned for her conduct. I'm not a fan of her. I'm sure she did much good in the years, but she also chose to associate with very strange things. So, no, I'm not a fan of her. But the 90-year-old Dame Stephanie Shirley, who also went by the name Steve, but we'll come to that. She was 90 this week. And she says, what can I do today that is worthwhile? This is someone who survived Nazi abuse. She says, I would like to make the world a fairer, safer place. I don't feel 90. I'm full of beans and energy. I feel like I'm 65. She is what a wonderful, wonderful lady. And she was asked on the radio about Suella Braverman, the horrible conservative politician who I cannot stand. She said, there is a big confusion between discrimination and persecution. And this is a lady who was subjected to being transported to save her own life. She said, I see refugees as a humanitarian issue. Suella Braverman comes over as harsh and uncaring, but she gives an impression of a lack of kindness and cruelty. This is a lady who has sponsored a study of impact of immigration at the London School of Economics, where I studied positives and the negatives of immigration. She is not partial. She is somebody who thinks, and she is not biased. She's kind-hearted. She supports the Safe Passage charity, which helps child refugees, children who are in need of help. Dame Stephanie Shirley, I urge you to listen to the Desert Island Discs by her, which I listened to earlier today. She's from Germany originally. She was a Jewish person. She was a refugee. She founded a company with just £6 in their own pocket, a software company called Freelance Programmers, which was entirely run by women until it became illegal that you couldn't only have women employees. So she started off with that. She made a fortune. She adopted the name Steve because she couldn't believe that people would take her seriously by the name Stephanie. So she became Steve. This is a lady who was a pioneer. She made hundreds of millions of pounds, and she has given it all away. This woman is generous beyond belief. She is kind-hearted. She gave £67 million of her personal wealth to a charity. I do it because of my personal history. I need to justify the fact that my life was saved. She is a kind, honest, decent woman. We need more people like Stephanie or Steve or whatever you want to call her. She's donated her entire art collection to hospitals. Many famous artists, Maggie Hambling and John Piper. She is somebody I salute. I think we should celebrate people like this more as opposed to go on about bad people. I think if we talk about good people more often, the world would be a happier place. Celebrate the good in the world and we get better things. But I give you an example. There is a wonderful example of decency, kindness, and good-heartedness. Dame Stephanie. Dame Stephanie is somebody one should celebrate. Somebody definitely not to be forgotten. At the age of 90, I wish I knew such a lady. I don't know her personally, never met her, but what a wonderful thing to hear about. Meanwhile, today, on Twitter, formerly now known as X, the Daily Mail refers it to X, formerly known as Twitter. I refer to it still as Twitter because it is still twitter.com. And I'm sitting up because this horrible, uncomfortable chair is driving me mad, and I'm going to pour myself a bit more of this wine. But seriously, Andrew Neil had remarks to make about the House of Lords. Andrew Neil had to say,
what are we doing?
I'm sorry, there are people trying to interrupt in the background, but we're still watching this. The House of Lords is beyond redemption, he said. A chamber of chances, grifters, has-beens, failures. Just close it down. We have far too many politicians anyway. Some have so little to do they moonlight on news channels. Now, Andrew Neil used to be involved in GB News. Andrew Neil does like to cause controversy. He used to work for Rupert Murdoch, all the rest of it. But Andrew Neil has a point. The House of Lords is doing nothing as a second chamber. It is not doing anything about the government, and I don't like the situation that we are in. Reaction to Andrew Neil's comments included something else Blair meddled with and ruined. That's criticism of Tony Blair. Another added, spot on. We don't need this many old sponges to take a second look at legislation. A small committee of around 10 could do the job. We could halt this gravy train now. Another added, Neil Kinnock said something similar and then went on to become Lord Kinnock. You know, the hypocrisy of people who don't like the House of Lords. You know, I know this dreadful woman called Baroness Mayer. She sits in the House of Lords. Well, I knew her. I don't know her anymore because we had rather a big row and she sent me a legal letter once. She's a threatening old bag and she's a dreadful piece of toe rag and I can't stand her. Sent me it on my birthday, actually. But, you know, what does she do in the House of Lords? She's only there because she's a friend of Theresa May. That's the only reason she got appointed. Sums it all up, really, to me. It's full of second-rate nobodies. Absolute waste of space people. You know, friends of Mr. and Mrs. McCann in her case. Anyway, you know, another one added, both houses need purging. That means the House of Commons too. Well, yeah, I would change that also. Another one said, quite rightly, introduce a continence test at the door. It'll be gone within a week. And another one finally said, remove the House of Lords liquor license in their restaurants and bars. They'll see them all off. Well, that's all they ever go there for. They go for the daily allowance. They get 300 quid a day and they turn up and they get their allowance and they go to the bar. Why should we, the public, pay for these scrounging rich people to sit there consuming and living like Baroness Brady, Baroness Moan? They are two of the most disgusting pieces of toe rag I've ever come across in my life. I loathed having lazy Brady as my neighbor, you know, the associate of the dildo floggers who worked for the football club, and then the horrible Michelle Moan who insulted my friend Omar Sharif and dared to try and come over for a selfie whilst we were having lunch. Awful people. Get rid of all of this rubbish. Throw them out. Karen Brady, a second-rate nobody. She ought to be thrown out. And Michelle Moan, the woman who took £232 million for PPE. Shame on you, Michelle Moan. Don't you ever come near me again, Michelle Moan, because you are a disgusting profiteer from the COVID scandal. You are a revolting creep. And you and your husband, Doug Barrowman, you should be punished beyond belief for what you've done to this country. You have no ability to even show shame. And well done to the wonderful Carol Vorderman for calling you out, because Carol used to be your friend and you used to come up to me and talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. You are a shameless piece of junk. This country hates you. Michelle Moan, wake up and realize that you buying yachts, buying houses, apartments, all the rest of it you did with our public money, you are an absolute piece of filth. You bring yourself into disgrace. You were once considered a great businesswoman for your bra company. You are now nothing but a figure of hate in our country, and we want you gone. David Cameron, shame on you for appointing this appalling woman who, frankly, was nothing but a personal profiteer alongside her sidekick, Barrowman. And yes, the Serious Fraud Office raided your offices. Let's see what's going to happen. We want to see you investigated. We want to see you dragged through the muck. You should be put in the stocks, Baroness Moan. You are an appalling, sick, disgraceful woman who profiteered from other people's misery. And I think that makes me sick and angry. And I really dislike you, Baroness Moan. Anyway, moving along, I shall talk about something related to this. It's been reported that the BBC are being criticised for not reporting on the Remain March, the Rejoin March, which occurred a couple of weeks ago in London. Thousands of people attended it, but the BBC did not report it. This is, quite frankly, disgraceful. Yes, another example of BBC hypocrisy. BBC are just as bad as GB News. They are all as bad as one another. I criticize them all together. I think it is disgusting that Brexit is being ignored and the impacts of Brexit ruining our lives is being ignored. And this is an outrage. And I agree with the people complaining about the fact that the BBC chose to give only 20 seconds of coverage to the Rejoin March when thousands of people attended. The BBC are hypocritical and ridiculous, and they're just as bad as GB News. I am not a fan of any of this media. I want to support truth and fairness, and I don't like the fact that the BBC is not giving fair coverage to Rejoin. So you can say what you will. Lots of people here are saying I'm tongue in cheek. Well, no, I'm not. I'm saying what I think, actually. I live in a bubble. Oh, do I indeed? Well, if you don't like what I say, why don't you bog off? Whoever you are, you sound like a complete bore. You're an absolute tedious pest. I don't like people who come out with a load of drivel. Put your money where your bloody mouth is. I bothered to go to the Supreme Court with Gina Miller. I supported the campaign against Brexit. I stand for the campaign against Brexit, and I will continue to do that. And I do not change my mind. I am somebody who believes in that. But I also believe in the right of people who love Brexit to have their right of opinion. I don't mind people who have an alternative opinion. So that is not the way that I will deal with things. Whoever you are, you're a complete bloody moron. Why don't you bog off and take your stupid opinion and stick it up your whatever? I don't need to hear such nonsense. That is complete drivel. You are talking like a schoolboy and you need to grow up. Pip, pip to you, whoever you are. You're a bore. Anyway, I don't mind people who support Brexit. I have many friends like Christine Hamilton who believes in Brexit and loves Brexit. And yeah, I respect people who supported it. It's perfectly within everyone's right to support whatever they believe in. I just don't do that myself. But I don't need to be abused by some moron who talks like Barry Baloney. Send him off to, the circus where he belongs. Bye bye, whoever you are. No, no. I do not want to deal with drivel idiot people. There's no point. Doesn't get me anywhere, doesn't get you anywhere, doesn't get the conversation anywhere. Let's talk in sensible terms. Most people here like an intelligent debate, which is why we watch you, says Harry Giles. Harry Giles, you are quite correct. We like an intelligent debate. Please ask questions. You're very welcome. Sweep never recovered from the death of Matthew. I don't believe I'm dead, but I think you mean Sutty and Sweep, but there we go. Why are you so serious? Oh, well, there you go. I don't know. I'm the voice of reason, says JJ. Well, thank you. That's kind of you to say. I don't know if I'm that, but I'm just the voice of a differing opinion that might not be agreed upon by some of those people. Would I take part in a debate? I've been in many debates over the years. I'm happy to do so. Depends where it is, and depends which lunatics or wonderful people it's with. Depends. Elaine says you are great, intelligent, and happy he's got my voice. Well, thank you for that. Paulie says we've got more in common than divides us. I think that people can disagree and still be friends. I say this because, I have my friend June. June loves Boris and Brexit. I loathe Boris and Brexit. But June and I can go on a program and we can talk for an hour and a half, and we talk in a civilized fashion, and we show that civility rules the day. That is the way to do things, unlike these vicious people who are coming on here and trying to provoke and be nasty and unpleasant. We don't need those people in our world. Some of us like immigration. Some of us don't like immigration. Some of us like, apples, and some of us like pears. Some of us like apples and pears. That is the way the world works. The world is a place where there should be a room for tolerance. And that is the reason that people like June and I get along and can make a program together and can talk, whereas these lunatics want to rant and rave and go, I hate this, I hate you, don't like you, don't want to know you. Well, fine. If they don't want to know us, go somewhere else. Take your opinion to another channel. We don't need you on our channel. We don't have to have you here because you don't contribute anything to our lives, and I don't contribute anything to yours because you don't like me. If you don't like me, you don't have to listen to me. You can choose to turn me off. If you don't like me, close me down. I urge you, please turn on the off button. If you really dislike me, you don't have to speak to me. Put on the off button. Do it now. Thank you. We shall move on to another topic because I don't need to continue with such nonsense. Anyway, the next topic. This is a funny one. I don't know how we'll deal with this, but a certain actor called Hugh Bonneville. Now, he's had an interesting history with the media, but I can't really tell you much about it because there are things involved in court orders and various things. But anyway, Hugh Bonneville, according to the Mail today, has split from his wife of 25 years. He plays the Earl of Grantham in Downton Abbey. He's had what's called a weight loss transformation. He was last seen together and in public with his wife at the Old Vic at a function. But then he appeared by himself without a wedding ring, flashing a grin at Michelle Dockery's wedding to Jasper Wallerbridge, brother of Phoebe Wallerbridge, who is the creator of Fleabag. He was not wearing his wedding ring. He once refused to be photographed with my good old friend, dear Jeffrey Archer, at a party at the Cadogan Hotel, in spite of being a graduate of theology. He was being very heartless and cruel to him. According to Adam Helliker of the Daily Express, he's had a rather curious private life. And in 2013, his horse won at the Leicester, the Highclere Thoroughbred Racing Syndicate. Anyway, he was referenced at the time by Richard Eden's Daily Mail as a Daily Telegraph for super. Now, those that know will know. He has a bit of a connection with Wayne Rooney in this regard, and it's a bit like a tag teaming on the turf, I said back in July 2021. So there's obviously something odd going on in the world of Hugh Bonneville. So that is something that definitely can be talked about in that regard. So there we go. Anyway, we're coming up to 51 minutes. So it is now time for some of your questions. I'm terribly sorry I cannot do a quiz, but I will try and find somebody to help me do a quiz. I will find a local capable of doing a quiz because I need a quiz assistant. I need my Debbie McGee. I haven't got a Debbie McGee to help me on this particular occasion. But I hope that you've enjoyed the evening's conversation and that you can hear me. Sally A says, can I have a shout out, please? You have cancer treatment tomorrow. I need a pick me up. Sally A, we give you a big hug to you, Sally A. If you're having cancer treatment tomorrow, myself and Min, who is sitting next to me here, we say a big hug to Sally A, who is having cancer treatment tomorrow. And lots of love to you. And I hope everybody else on this channel will support you, because my grandmother died of cancer, and cancer is a terrible thing. And we support you, Sally A. That is.
You will be okay.
My companion here says you will be okay. We will all be there to support you, and we hope to see you soon. You sound like a lovely lady, and thank you for tuning in when you're clearly going through far worse things than any of us are going through. So, our salutations to you, and our best wishes and love to you.
Positive. Be positive.
There we go. So, any more questions? We have 5 more minutes, and then I will be tuning out. Otherwise, I hope that you all enjoyed the evening, and I don't know what else we can say, because I don't think there are many more questions. But is Grant Shapps the most stupid man in Parliament? Asked Blitzer. I think Grant Shapps should be asked what his actual name is. That might be a useful question. That's about all I can say about him. Right, so there we go. What are a couple of discrepancies in Downton Abbey? Asks Lily. Well, Downton Abbey was written by my friend Julian Fellows. I like Julian Fellows very much. I saw him last at a memorial service for the late the Honourable Thomas Noel earlier this year, and I did make a joke with him about said about the upstairs and the downstairs because he gets it a bit wrong. He doesn't. He he has made it more informal. It's the reality would never have been like that. The program is completely ridiculous, but he made a program that was great entertainment, and I salute Julian Fellows for making great entertainment that has made the nation happy. And if people enjoy it, I don't think it's in the league of The Remains of the Day, for example, the Merchant Ivory film with Anthony Hopkins, which is one of my favorite films. But people enjoy Downton Abbey, so fair enough. But Julian has adapted it in his own particular way, so that is his right, and he will make more great programs. The man has done brilliantly, and he has done very well. So I salute him for his success. I think he has provided entertainment for the nation, and that is to be celebrated. Let's not be critical and unfair of people who do good things that make people happy. And I don't I don't particularly think it is accurate historically, but it is something that provides joy to many. So let's celebrate the joy that Julian has brought to many. I think that is the way forward of accepting his story. And it is his story, just as he wrote Gosford Park, which he won an Oscar for, a wonderful success that he had with that. So well done to Julian Fellows. Um, right, the next question. Have I seen The Last Indian? No, have not seen The Last Indian. No, I haven't. I'm not sure what that is. Right. The flies and the moths will be coming in with that door open. Well, they probably will, yes. But my bedroom door is closed, so don't worry. They won't be coming in there. Thank you for your stream tonight. We hope to see you tomorrow, says Nikki. Yes. Would I debate Ron Swansong on the Russell Brand issue on Atwood channel? I have no idea who Ron Swansong is, so I could not possibly comment on Ron Swansong. I don't know who he is. No idea. Couldn't comment. Right. We celebrate you, but Matthew, but please accept people disagree with you politically. It is not a personal attack, it's just the way it is. You are entitled, as I said, to have totally different views to me. I have friends who are conservatives, I have friends who are Labour. I have friends who are Liberal Democrats, I have friends who are Democrats, I have friends who are Republicans. I do not object to people of differing views, so you are entitled to your view. So I don't know why you send such a silly comment because, quite frankly, I have always been tolerant of people of differing views as long as they're not racist, bigoted, or homophobic, or racist, or horrible, or whatever. So please don't send comments like that again. It's nonsense. Please, I'm not interested in nonsense like that. And Sally A says, thank you for your kindness and support. Well, Sally A, we all care about you and we hope that you do well tomorrow with your treatment. And before we go, because we're about to go, because it's now 58 minutes, we're about to close down, but we wish Sally A all the very best because Sally A is somebody who deserves all our support and we hope it all goes well for you with your treatment. Um, you know, let's all stick together. And this is a lovely community that you've all created around me. I don't know why you wanted to create it around me, but here we are. And, there's hundreds of you here. And thank you very much for your support of me. You didn't have to support me, but I think it's wonderful to support people like, Sally, who deserves support. I don't deserve any support because I'm just a boring idiot that talks a lot. But Sally deserves support because she's got to go through something, and let's help Sally. So I will close by saying at 1 hour, thank you ever so much for your lovely support. Have a great night. Take care. Good gardening, and don't have nightmares, but also having your dreams, Sally. Let's have in our dreams, all of us tonight, Sally. Let's think of Sally. Take care, and best wishes to you all. Good night and good gardening. Take care. Pip, pip.